But when we think about the year, we think about our plans, we think about our New Year's resolutions. We have a plan in mind. Well, I know I do. I am a planner. I love to have my year planned out ahead. I love to know what direction that I'm going in. But this series isn't about hopes and dreams. We all have hopes and dreams, and we pray that you get to see some of them hopes and dreams come to be. But this series builds upon a premise. It's not a plan that we create, but actually a premise, a principle, or a prediction. And this simple statement that we're going to say every single week, if you take it on board, it will actually help you predict your future. And this phrase is simple, and hopefully you hold on to it. It's this: that direction, not intention, determines our destination. That it's not a plan, so to speak, that we need to create, or a step of things that we need to do. But actually, if we think about our lives, the direction determines our destination. The direction you're on will be the destination you end up. And that is one way that you can predict your future. If you're facing a certain way, you can nearly predict that that is where you're going to end up. So the behaviors that you have, the plans that you have, everything that makes you, it's not just your intentions, because we all have great intentions, but actually it's our direction. And maybe you haven't thought about this, but where do you want to end up this year? Some of us think about this, some of us don't. But what is your goal for the year? What is your plan? If you got a plan, I want to save up this amount of money. I want to get this job. I want to graduate. I want to get married. I want to have kids. Maybe you have a plan for this year. And we could have all the best intentions, but intentions are not good predictors. I can have good intentions of finally getting that summer body, having my six-pack and looking good, and I intend to do it. But my behavior says I don't go to the gym. My behavior says anytime I drive over 30 minutes, I need a packet of sweets in the car. My behavior says if I go to the cinema, I don't just need popcorn. I need nuts. I need chocolate. I need a chewy sweet. And I need nachos. Anyone else with me? Like, you need one of every category of goodness, okay, in your life. So my behavior, my current behavior, is a better prediction than my intention. So my direction is I'm heading towards being overweight. So hopefully I can curb some of that eating. I can curb some of that madness of when going to the cinema and you've got all these different bags. I am that person, I apologize, that opens all their stuff and you just hear the rattling. I apologize. My intentions are to be fit and healthy, but my current behavior is not leading that way. So hopefully that paints a picture of what we're trying to tell you and through this series, that actually what we think, what our plans are, isn't a good indication of where we're going to head, but actually our current behavior and our direction is, because direction beats intention every time. If I intend to go see my family in Belfast, that's a good intention. I want to go see them, I want to spend time with them. But if my direction leads me south on the M50, my intentions are great, but my direction is wrong. So if I put myself in the right direction, well then I can predict, well if I go up the M1, I'm getting closer to Belfast than if I was going south on the M50. Because direction beats intention every time. Because we know this to be true, that behavior indicates direction. Our current behavior, not our intentions, not our plans, not our thoughts, but our behavior indicates direction. So the question we're answering today is this: have you ever followed someone who you knew was bad at directions? And as soon as I said that, that one person popped into your head. That one person that has got you lost, that you'll never trust again, and that they'd get lost in a paper bag. Like you just, for some reason, they just can't understand. I don't know. For me, it's just common knowledge. It's like if I'm going that way and I get deterred, like I'll take a detour and I'll still figure out. I don't have to like, okay, where's the sun? And like, okay, figure it out. Like just people just don't understand where they're going. And maybe you've bought into them. Maybe they've said to you, follow me. Trust me. I know a better way. And you knew you shouldn't have listened to them, but you did anyway. And you got lost. They led you in the wrong way. You followed them. You trusted them. They thought they had a better way. And in the end, they got you lost. And you knew they were going to get you lost anyway, but you decided to try and trust them. There's some people that you just don't trust with directions. I'm one of those people that if I go somewhere once, I could get you there 90% of the way the next time without any maps. I'll just figure it out and I'll remember. But there's people that just go on a route and just couldn't tell you where they are. And if you're so lost, we are in Ireland. We're in Dublin right now. Maybe you weren't supposed to be here. We're glad that you're here. If you got lost and got into the wrong screen, well, I'm glad you're here. But most of us know that person that's terrible at directions. And some of us think that we're going to pave our own way. We have a plan in mind, we have a goal in mind. We are pavers, we are creators of our own future. But in reality, we're all followers. We may not follow someone who gets us lost, but each and every one of us are followers. We follow someone or something, and sometimes that happens when we're lost. Not just physically in a car, but if you're starting a new job and you're lost and you're like, I don't know how to do this job. You follow someone's direction. Here's how you do it. This is how it's done around here. We all follow social norms. There's things that we all do that is just normal in society. Because sometimes it's the clothes that we wear. It's like, okay, this color goes with this color. So society tells me I have to wear clothes that match. But then you see some people in the house and they don't follow social norms in the house. That whatever is ready, whatever is baggy, whatever is comfortable, that's what they put on. But for some reason, as soon as we step out that front door, we feel like we have to follow the social norm in many ways. Maybe you follow a football club or a band. So anytime they're performing, you want to go see them. That football club causes you misery because they keep losing time and time and time again. We follow people on social media. We all have people on our follow list, and we want to see everything that they get up to. And these people are influencers, and they influence what we buy, what we say, how we act, because as we follow them, their life imprints on us, and we begin to live like them. So as they influence us, they influence our direction. They influence the direction of our life. Friends, we follow friends, and we know this to be true as parents. And maybe you remember this as a child as well, that our parents were so particular about who we spent time with, because we know the power of influence with our friends. If we are in a bad friendship group, that can lead you or your son or your daughter in a bad direction. And maybe you've experienced that as you were in a certain group in school, you felt that pull towards an activity. You felt that pull towards something that they were doing. But we forget this as adults, that our friends determine our direction as well. They influence our life still today. Maybe there's people here that follow a religion. You're here and maybe you've decided to start following a religion. For us as Christ followers, we believe that we don't follow a religion, but we follow a person. And his name is Jesus. And we all have followed the wrong person. And maybe it was for you a religion and you're like, I don't want to follow religion anymore. You followed a friend. Maybe it was someone that said they loved you. Maybe it was someone that had bad intentions and you followed them and you ended up following the wrong person. But I want you to know today that Jesus is the right person, that Jesus is the one that can change your life. And we said in the last song there that his name has power. So whatever you're facing today, whatever you're going through today, the power of Jesus can change your life. So if you follow him, your life will never be the same. And maybe that scares you a bit. Maybe that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe you're comfortable with your life. Maybe you like the comfort of knowing what life is all about, and yet you're here. Maybe there's a draw. Maybe there's something that's stirring your heart. And I pray that today that you would decide to follow Jesus. And through the message today, we're going to read some verses today and portray this story and live it out and see what happens as this story unfolds. But my prayer for you is that whatever you're following today, that actually you would set it down and follow Jesus instead. Because life has a way of throwing detours at us. We think we've got a plan, we're ready, okay, we're saving money and we're getting that house deposit, and then the car breaks down. We're about to marry this person, we're going to get engaged, we're falling in love, and then they break up with us. And then we're going to have a baby and we're going to have a family, and then we struggle to get pregnant. And then we're trying this plan and that plan, and why is nothing working out? We have this plan, but yet life has a way of throwing detours at us. We thought it would be plain sailing, we thought it would be easy, but yet someone threw a spanner in the works. And maybe you're here today and you've realized that you're heading in the wrong direction in life. That there are people around you pulling you the other way. There's people in your life that have caused you to believe another thing about yourself, about life, bringing you down a path that you've said, I would never go down that path, but yet you find yourself down there. And I pray today that as if you are that person that you've realized you're going in the wrong direction, that you would turn back, that you would redirect your life. And this isn't for those that aren't Christ followers. This is also for us as Christ followers. Because we could be Christ followers, following Jesus, it's going great, but yet our direction tells us we're not reading our Bibles. Our direction tells us we're not spending time with Jesus. Our direction can tell us we're not tithing and serving the church. That direction tells me you're moving further away from Him. So as Christ followers, we can come to this realization too, that actually I haven't read my Bible in a few weeks. I haven't read my Bible in months, years, but yet I still have the term Christ follower. I've realized that actually, when was the last time I prayed? Why am I not serving? Why am I not tithing in church? And maybe today is the day you'll realize I'm going the wrong direction in my faith. Even though I have the title Christ follower, I'm going in the wrong direction. So the question we're going to answer today for both Christ follower and non-Christ follower is this. What do we do if we find ourselves going in the wrong direction? What a great, practical, helpful question to ask. What do we do? If we're going in the wrong direction, do we circle back? Do we turn around? Do we take the roundabout? Do we just keep going heading forward? What do we do when we're going in the wrong direction? So we're going to read some verses found in the book of John, chapter 6. And John was one of Jesus' disciples. So Jesus, as he was on earth, did all these incredible miracles and said amazing things. And John was an eyewitness to this. He's seen it all unfold in front of him. And he took note of everything that Jesus said and did. But his point in writing this book was so that everyone would know who Jesus really was. Not what everyone else was saying about him, but the true facts of who Jesus really is. And in John chapter 6, he just performed this incredible miracle of feeding over 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. I would struggle to eat that in the cinema by myself, but Jesus multiplied it and fed over 5,000 people. So there's this incredible miracle. Everyone's tired. So Jesus takes a walk around, and he's like, right, I need some chill time myself. I'm just going to go and pray. And he goes to the other side of the lake. And the verses that we're going to read is just after this moment, just after this incredible moment where Jesus just performs a miracle. Everyone's fed, everyone's feeling good. Jesus at the other side of the lake. And then these people find him. And in verse 25, this is what they say. It says, when they found him on the other side of the lake, that's Jesus, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you get here? Now, this isn't a genuine question because this is just small talk. They've got a question and an intention in mind, but they're just trying to start kind. Like we do this ourselves. We go to people and we have an objective in mind, we have a question in mind, but we need to start with some small talk. So Rabbi, trying to be nice, trying to be kind, when did you get here? And then in the next verse it says, Jesus answered, very truly I tell you, you are looking for me not because you saw the signs I performed, but because you ate all the loaves and had your fill. You're only talking to me because I fed you. And they're trying to play it cool. And it's like, hey, when did you get here? How's it going, Jesus? You keep him well. But Jesus knows their intentions. He knows that all they want from him is more bread, is more food, is more miracles. And what they've missed in this moment is that the miracle wasn't the point of the story. Miracles are never just about power. They're a sign. And what the signs do, signs point us into a direction. So the miracle that Jesus performed, the miracle wasn't the point. The miracle was to point people to Jesus. And they completely missed this. All they wanted was the miracle. All they wanted was more bread and more food so they would get their fill. But it wasn't about that. It was about pointing people to who Jesus really was. They weren't following him for who he was. They were following him for what he could do. And yes, Jesus can do incredible, amazing things. But they didn't want him for who he was. They didn't want a savior. They wanted a supplier. They wanted someone who just supplied their needs. If they need anything, they can rub the lamp and he would grant any wish that they had. They can go to the Jesus vending machine and tip, oh, I need this and I need that. And they think like all they do is receive. They didn't want a savior. Jesus was trying to tell them more about who he was, to show them who he was. But yet, all they wanted was someone to supply their needs. They wanted something temporary. They wanted bread to feed them and fill them full for a while. But Jesus offered something eternal. He was pointing to himself and saying, hey, you could have a life forever. But all they were interested was for bread in the moment. Then the story continues. Then they asked him, what must we do to do the work God requires? So Jesus answered, the work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent. So they're trying to reply now, okay, Jesus, what do you require of us? What can we do? Another way of saying that is, Jesus, what's the formula? What is it that we can do to muster up more food, to muster up another miracle so that we can get our fill? Like, is there something that you do? Do you have to say a certain line and then you have to jump 3 times and then you have to spin around? Like, what is the formula? And sometimes as Christ followers, we get bogged down in the formula. I love spiritual disciplines. I love getting into routines. I love having a set time to read my Bible and prayer and fasting and serving and tithing. And these things are great. These things bring us towards Jesus. But they're not the point. Sometimes we get fixated in reading the Bible to tick it off our list. Sometimes we get involved in just prayer and it just becomes a routine. And we miss ourselves. And we think the formula of getting to know Jesus is these spiritual disciplines. And actually we focus on the disciplines more than we focus on Jesus. So we need to be careful too as Christ followers that we can fall into this trap as well of asking God, what is the formula? Not if I pray more, if I serve more, if I give more. Yes, they are good and good intentions come with that. But with the people that were asking Jesus this question, what must we do? And as Christ followers as well, as we live our life, what can we do? Jesus is telling us, stop trying to earn something. Start trusting me. We don't need to earn. We don't need to read the Bible to make him happy. We don't need to do our spiritual disciplines just to make him happy and to earn something. But they do help us in learning to trust him more. It's where our focus is in the minute. If you're not a Christ follower, maybe this is completely new to you. Maybe you've thought about this as a religion. Maybe you've heard about the church and Christianity and everything that it might entail. And you think, I have to do, and I have to earn, and I have to serve, and I have to do certain things to get something from Jesus. But actually, the only thing that you need to do is to trust him. To not do and to earn, but actually to just trust him and believe in him. There's no formulas. There's no checklists. There's no commandments. Jesus simply just wants you to follow him. Following Jesus is not about effort. It's about direction. It's not about how much effort you put in, but it's the direction. Are you turning into Jesus more and more every day? Are your beliefs and are your behaviors aligned with who he is? And yes, we're humans. We're not perfect. But if we fall, I would rather fall into Jesus than fall away from Jesus. God knows that I am on my route to following him. So even if I mess up, even when I fail, even when things don't go according to plan, and maybe I sin and mess up and things don't go well, I'm still following him. My direction is towards him. But if I do these things and my direction is far from him, well, then that's a completely different story because it's not about my effort, but it's about my direction. So Christ follower, are you facing him? And Christ follower isn't a get out of jail free card. Sometimes we think we've got the title, we're all good. But our direction can be off as well. So Jesus, then this story continues to go on, and these people are asking more questions of Jesus. So they say, Jesus, what sign then will you give us that we may see it and believe you? What will you do? And Jesus probably standing, scratching his head, thinking, what sign? We just fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Like, you, basically, this is what they're saying, Lord, do something else. And then they go on and say, well, our ancestors ate manna in the wilderness, as it is written. They gave them bread from heaven to eat. In this incredible story, God's people were hungry in the desert, and God provided food from heaven, just rained this magical bread from heaven that supplied all the needs of the people, and it was called manna. So they're saying, hey, it happened in the past. Can you do it again? And Jesus is like, do it again? I just did it. And the translation of this is, we'll do another miracle and then we'll follow you. Prove yourself again. If you do another one, then we will believe in you. And this is just after Jesus performed this incredible miracle. They already had the bread. They already had the miracles. But when the heart is closed, no miracle is ever enough. We close ourselves off. If our hearts are closed to him, well, then nothing that he could ever do will penetrate our hearts. If our hearts are closed to him, well, then we can't see God performing his miracles. Sure, everyone was just taking bread out of their pockets. And we just write off what God is doing. And again, Christ followers, non-Christ followers, this is for both of us. This isn't like, hey, Christ follower, you need to follow Jesus today. But for Christ followers, we need this as well. If you're not following Jesus, we would love for you to do that today. But my heart for you as your pastor is that I want you as Christ followers as well to follow Jesus with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And sometimes when we see miracles, when our hearts are closed as Christ followers, it's never enough. They become blasé. Yesterday's miracles becomes today's normality. And we forget about the goodness of God because our hearts have closed. And maybe you're here and your heart is closed to God. My prayer for you is that over these next few minutes, would you open your heart? Would you just ask the question, what if this is real? What if God can perform a miracle? What if God could change my life? If your hearts are open for the next few moments, I pray that God would perform a miracle in your life. Because these people, they weren't looking for the truth. They were looking for insurance. They were looking for someone that they could have on their side who could supply their every need. That would be great, wouldn't it? It would be great to have someone on call who would just be able to sort out all your needs. And that's what they wanted. They weren't looking for the truth. This miracle that pointed towards the truth. They weren't going in the direction of truth. They were going in the direction of having Jesus as insurance so that they would never go hungry. Because if he could just do that again, yeah, Jesus, do that again and again and again. When does that stop? If you do another miracle, we'll believe you. No, just go on, do another one. Give me bread this time. Give me steak this time. And we just keep pushing the ball down the field. Just, Lord, do another one and then. And sometimes we see him as an insurance, safety net. And he is those things, but he's pointing to the truth. And faith that needs constant proof is not faith, it's transaction. If you're here and you're like, Lord, send a sign. Lord, give me a word. Are you sure you're true? And Lord, I'm setting a fleece out, and will you prove yourself here and do that there? If you're constantly asking God to prove himself, then that's not faith. God will show up and prove himself, but if you need constant reassurance, well, then that's not faith. Faith is believing the things that we do not see. It's the substance of things hoped for. And we're believing that even though we can't see it in front of us at times, we're trusting he is always there. So we're talking about this miracle that's gone on, and they're like, well, if you do another one, we'll believe you. And then they brought up the past. Well, it happened in the past. Moses had manna in the wilderness. So Jesus said to them, very truly, I tell you, it's not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it's my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Sir, they said, always give us this bread. This bread that makes us never go hungry, can you give us it? And then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Jesus is telling him, you don't need something from me. You need me. You don't need this bread that was provided in the wilderness. You just simply need me. They wanted bread to survive, but Jesus offered himself so that they could truly live. Jesus wants you to truly live today, not just survive, but to thrive. What an incredible life that we could live, that we can find life in him. They were asking, would you give us this bread every day? And Jesus is saying, well, I am the bread of life. And Jesus is available to us each and every day. And it's our decision whether we want to spend time with him or not. And I want to encourage non-Christ followers to maybe consider, what would it look like to start a relationship with Jesus? And as Christ followers in the room, what does your relationship with Jesus look like? He says you can have this bread every day. You'll not go hungry. You'll not go thirsty. But what are you doing with that? If you're in an all-you-can-eat buffet, if you're going up for one plate and you're not doing it right, you go up time and time and time and time and time and time again. And then you go for dessert, because there's always room for dessert. And that is our relationship with Jesus. You can keep coming back to him time and time and time again, but yet so many of us neglect our relationship with Jesus. And what a great time to kickstart that at the beginning of 2026. What would it look like if we would never hunger or thirst again, because we are taking our fill of Jesus? Because he offers himself to us each and every day. And it's up to each and every one of us. Either we accept it, or we just leave it on the plate and we leave it. And as this conversation was happening, the disciples, there's 12 main disciples, and then there was other people, a larger group of people who were following Jesus. And on hearing what was happening, many of the disciples said this. Says, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? Aware that his disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? And they maybe had something else in mind. And it wasn't a hard teaching because it was hard to understand. Like, all the understanding was follow me for who I am, not what I can do. And they just found this difficult to understand. It wasn't because it was a complex teaching. It wasn't because it was deep. It wasn't because of any of those difficult words were thrown in, but it was hard because Jesus is basically saying, are you using me? Or are you in a relationship with me? And as they were having this conversation, it says, from this time, many of his disciples turned back and unfollowed him. Maybe they came to realize in their heart, well, actually, maybe all I want is stuff from him. If Jesus is asking me to give him my life, to surrender to him, I don't know if I'm in for that. That sounds a little bit too difficult. It was a lot easier if Jesus was just a holy vending machine. I could go to him at any time, press the buttons, and get whatever I need. That sounds easier. But Jesus, if you're asking me to be in a relationship with you, many of them turned back and unfollowed him. Maybe you've done that on social media. You're like, I don't like the direction they're going in. Unfollow. They're becoming a bit woke. Unfollow. They're talking too much about the environment. Unfollow. They've changed their football club. Like, they've left my beautiful team that I've loved and adored, and they're turning their backs, and you unfollow because you don't like the direction they're going in. This is what happened with these disciples. Jesus, you're calling us to surrender and give our lives to you. That's a lot more difficult than you just being a beep, 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 receive. And maybe that's where you find yourself today, Christ follower, that your relationship has turned into a needs-based. It's a medicine cabinet. I'll only open it when I need something. Jesus isn't a fridge. You don't just, what can I get today? And I'll take that, and then we forget about him. This is how we sometimes interact with Jesus. So maybe today, this is a realization moment that maybe you've started in your life to unfollow him. It's too difficult. I'll get extra money if I work on a Sunday, so I'll do that. Serving's too difficult. Tithing, that's not for me. And so often our behavior is causing us to turn back in a different direction and begin to unfollow him, sometimes without us even realizing. And they didn't leave because Jesus was unclear. Jesus was very clear. They left him because he wouldn't be used. Jesus isn't here to be used. He isn't here to be whatever you need. He is here to be truth. He is here to be a relationship. If we were in a relationship, we serve the other person, we love the other person, we love spending time with the other person. But maybe you've been in a bad relationship where that person has used you for your influence, used you for your resource, used you for your family name. And sometimes it looks the same. They can put on a show and they can love, but eventually their heart shows. And we can see the direction that they're going in, that they're only using you for their own personal gain. But they left because Jesus is not a vending machine, something to be used. They wanted a God who would serve their plans, but Jesus called them to surrender to his. They were saying, God, here's my plans. If you could just add your blessing onto it, if you could just help me out, if you could just make sure that my plans are okay. But Jesus was saying to them, actually, you should surrender to mine. As Pastor Lynn read out today, God has a plan for you, an incredible plan, a plan to give you a hope and a future. And it will take trust to follow God's plan. And that's what Jesus is asking. Would you surrender to that plan? Surrender to the life, the plan, the hope that I have for you. And that's the hard part. We're not saying this thing is easy. As Christ followers, we continue to grow in this. We continue to grow in how much we trust him. Oh, that's a big step of faith, Jesus. I'll take it. And then our faith grows and grows because we see, as we surrender to his will, to his plan, to his way of life, we see that he's never failed us. We see that even though it may be difficult sometimes, that his arms are surrounding us and that we still get to live life and life to the full. These people wanted something temporary and perishable, but Jesus was offering something far better. Today, this is on offer to you as well. Not to just get your fill. Church is great. You can get your fill at church. You can see people that you know, and you can hear from the Bible, and you can sing the songs, and you will get your fill. But the fill is just temporary. That buzz of church, it's great, but if it doesn't draw us towards Jesus, if it doesn't point us towards Jesus, it's perishable. It will fade. We'll be on during the week being like, oh, how can I get through the week? But if we have Jesus in our lives, he offers us that something that's permanent and doesn't perish. Something that is far better. Just like in this story. And for us today, Jesus was offering to them not just to be filled, but to be fulfilled. Does that describe your life today? Your life is full. You've got good things. You've got a good job. You have a family. You have a marriage. Life is good. It feels full. But is your life fulfilled? Is there something missing in your life? And if you're not fulfilled in life, I want to let you know you can find true fulfillment in Jesus. And then there's this beautiful moment at the end of all this. And the 12 disciples, Jesus' closest disciples, Jesus turns around to them and says, you do not want to leave me too, do you? He's giving them the choice. Jesus lets them choose. Hey, do you want to go with them? Like this is difficult. I get it. You have to surrender your plans and your trust to me. Here's your get out of jail free card. You get to choose. Jesus in this moment doesn't guilt them, doesn't pressure them. He gives them freedom. Hey, this is all for you. You get to choose if you want to follow him or not. This isn't a church that we're going to manipulate you. We're going to strangle you into a position and you have to do this, that, and the other. There's no guilt. There's no pressure. There is a freedom to choose Jesus. It's our freedom to choose him each and every day. So Simon Peter, one of the disciples, answered him, and he said, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. What Peter is saying here is, if not you, then who? If we don't follow you, well then who would we follow? Because I've tried to follow my own way, and that got me into trouble. I tried to follow the way of the world and my father's way and what people thought of me. But then I followed your way, and it's so much better. He says, you have the words that lead to life, and every other option leads nowhere. And maybe you've tried many other options, and that's how you found Jesus. You're at the end of your tether, you're at the end of your rope, and you realize that every other option leads nowhere. If I don't follow Jesus, then who? The disciples followed that his way is better than our way. The plans that we have, the hopes that we have, his way, because he has the words of eternal life. His way is better than our way. We come to believe, this is what Peter is saying, we have come to believe and know that you're the Holy One of God. We have noticed, we have seen everything that you've done, and we've come to know that you are who you say you are. You are the Holy One of God. Before this, there was fishing, there was marriage, there was children, then death. It's a filled life. If we have these things in life, it is full. Like, this is great. I'm having a good life. Like, I've got my marriage and my job, and this is great. If this is all I live, okay, I'll take it. This is a full life. But actually, Jesus, he's saying, you invited us into something so much bigger. Jesus invited them to experience their extraordinary purpose. And in doing so, and in living that out, they lived a fulfilled life. You can live life right now. Maybe you're here and you don't follow Jesus, and your life may be full. I don't need to add anything to my life. Life is good. I'm enjoying it. Things are growing great. But I don't want you to just live a filled life. Jesus wants you to live a fulfilled life, to experience your extraordinary purpose, to experience the plans and purposes God has for your life. These disciples, they chose to follow him for who he is, not just what he gives. And they experienced everything that he had to give, but they followed him for who he is. Because people who only follow Jesus for what he gives will eventually walk away when life gets difficult. I've experienced that. If you're a Christian long enough, maybe you've experienced that. The people have fallen away from faith because God hasn't supplied anymore. Like, God isn't blessing their plans because they're not surrendered to his. But we see this to be true time and time and time again. People who follow him for who he is will stay even when it's difficult. Even when life beats us up, even when things don't go our way, when things don't go to plan, we've got a God, we've got a comfort, we've got a hope, we've got a peace that he will stay because he is who he says he is. Because when you finally see who Jesus is, you realize there's nowhere else to go. And that's my prayer for you today, that you would come to realize that Jesus is the only way. That no other way is worth your time, your money, your effort, your thoughts, your ability, all that you are. Because when you see Jesus, you realize. For some of us, we need that moment again to remind ourselves of the time that we first seen Jesus. To restart, to rekindle that love that we had for him. So for each and every one of us today, will you choose to follow Jesus? Maybe for the first time, maybe you're here and you've never decided to follow him. My hope for you is that you would follow him today. That you would discover not just a filled life, but live a fulfilled life. That you would come to know him and love him. That he would supply all your needs, but because you've surrendered your love, your trust, your life to him. Christ follower, do you need to get on the right path again? Do you need to follow Jesus today? And we use this term in our church. We call people who follow Jesus Christ followers. But maybe for you, you've turned into a Christian where it's just a title. You haven't actually been doing the following Jesus part. You've been doing the religious part. You've been coming to church part. You've been telling people that you go to church, part you've been calling yourself a Christian. But does your behavior say that you're a Christian? Are you serving? Are you giving? Are you loving? Are you reading your Bible and praying and getting to know Him more? Christ follower, do you need to follow Him again? So as we land, the question we've been answering is, what do we do if we find ourselves in the wrong direction? First thing we do, and I pray that each and every one of us will have that moment today, is that we recognize where our current direction is actually taking us. Who are you surrounding yourself with, your behaviors? Where are you leading yourself to? Not your intentions, not where you hope to be, not where you trust to be, not your hopes. What direction are you going in? And some of us are sincere. Some of us are believing in the right thing. Some of us are sincere that we want to try and we're going. And we can be sincere, but we can be sincerely headed in the wrong way. Because it's direction, not intention, not in our sincerity, that causes our direction. It's a direction that leads us to our destination. So today I pray that we all realize where we're at. The second thing is to redirect. If we've come to realize, how did I end up here? I'm on the wrong track. Well, then we need to redirect our lives. We need to choose a new path. And maybe for you, that's choosing a new job. You're in a toxic environment. Maybe that's leaving a relationship. Maybe that's changing a friendship group. Maybe that's deleting a number on your phone. Maybe that's starting a new hobby to bring you closer to Jesus. Maybe that's to start serving on one of our teams. Maybe this year is the year you start trusting God with your finances. Where on this journey called life can you start a new path? I'm going in the complete wrong direction. What do you need to do? I remember being in school, 15 years old, and having to choose not to hang out with my friends who I'd been hanging out with for years because they were going in a different direction. They were 15, so we couldn't buy alcohol, so we found someone to buy cheap alcohol, and they were trying that, and they were trying these drugs, and they were going this party, and they were going that, and I decided that's not the direction I want to go in. And how hard is it when you're a teenager to be without friends? It's a hard thing to do. But yet, as I look back, I see God's faithfulness. I see God putting people into my life. And it was just after that time I found Anna in my life. So what difficult situation do you need to choose a new path in? Do you need to leave your job? I left the job before. They told me, I asked for time off for exams. And they said, if you get time off church, we'll give you time off exams. And I said, I'm not working here no more. I'm not putting my exams and my work over my faith. So what is it you need to do? I was without money. I was without an income. But God supplied. What decision do you need to make today? Not just better intention. I intend to spend more time with God. I intend to find new friends. I intend to be healthier. I intend to... but a better direction. Not just intend to. Don't just leave here with good intentions, but leave here with decisions. Leave here knowing what you have to do and follow through on it. Stop asking God to bless our plans and start asking Him to direct our steps. Lord, where do you want me to go? Not you deciding where you're going to go and ask God to bless it, but actually, God, where do you want me to go? Because if you step out in faith and maybe you do need to leave your job, I believe God has a better job for you. And that doesn't always mean financially. You might take a pay cut, but God is good. God will see you through. God is faithful to those who are faithful to Him. And for all of us, we can start following Jesus. Maybe for the first time or maybe again. To be daily, to deliberately, and to fully follow Him. So we realize we're on the wrong track. We redirect ourselves and choose a new path. And then the third thing we do is rely on Him. You don't need to know all the answers. You just need to know the way. And the way to life and life to the full is Jesus. Real godly reliance is trusting God's direction even though we don't know the destination. We trust in Him, even though we can't see the horizon, even though we don't know the final place, even though we can't see the journey mapped out ahead of us. When we rely on Him, we trust His direction because He has set the destination. So church, what would it look like if each of us surrendered to His direction and we trust Him with our destination? What would your life look like? What would it look like to surrender to His direction? Not where you want to go, but the purposes and plans God has for you.